Hey everyone, this is Jackie Silman, and welcome to Community and Friends. And when I say the you and community, that is talking to the guest. And I'm really excited about this podcast. When Fish invited me probably a year ago to tell me that he was going to have this studio and he really wanted me to help him on podcasting, I was like, okay, well, I have a face for, radio or podcasts. Well, he didn't share that there was actually going to be a video, which we will be seeing on 93Q TV on YouTube. So I hope that you'll enjoy this segment that we're going to do today. It is sponsored by, which I'm honored to say, Dr. Tawny Dotson at Yuba College. I reached out to her as I shared that I had Chief Bree Oliver on today, and she wanted to be the first sponsor for the first show and in honor of Chief Oliver. So I thought that was really sweet. So the Yuba College Foundation and Yuba College, thank you so much. As you can imagine, these studios' time is pretty important for us, for local community. So with that, I want to introduce my guest today, my very first guest, and I'm very excited about it. This is Chief Master Sergeant Bree Oliver, and we met through her honorary commander, which is Kelly Sharon. Everybody here locally knows her by Kelly Givicki of Givicki Ford Kia. And what an honor it is for all of us to be honorary commanders. But so tell me a little bit about you that our audience probably doesn't know.
Oh, well, Jackie, first, I can't even go on without saying how grateful I am for the opportunity, not just to be in this community, but to be recognized and to have such a wonderful partnership with such fine civic leaders like yourself and like Kelly. I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to know you. I think that's what keeps a lot of military people still serving, honestly.
I like it.
But as you mentioned, here at Beale Air Force Base, I am serving as the command chief for the 9th Reconnaissance Wing and the installation of Beale itself. So Colonel Church is the base commander, and I am his partner and principal advisor on a number of issues impacting really the bulk of the force. Over 75% of the force is enlisted, and I represent their voices from the lowest ranks that we have in the enlisted force structure of airmen all the way up to the chief master sergeants that we have there at Beale.
Wow. And is it always set that way? Because in the past, and I guess I have to go with just living here, being, grew up here, was at Beale Air Force Base. Is it always have a partner like you and Church, Colonel Church? I should get that right.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Colonel Church. But is there always the two that work together?
So at the installation level, so at other bases such as, we have Travis a little bit farther south. You have the Presidio of Monterey, which is an Army installation. Yes, typically you have a garrison commander or an installation commander or a base commander.
Oh, okay.
And they have the ability to hire their enlisted counterpart to kind of be their Robin to Batman, if you will. So they're partner in crime or fighting crime, as the case may be.
Well, that's what I find so interesting, because I found out that you are like a 0.0%. You're an enlisted officer. So that makes it, or Chief Master Sergeant. So explain what that means, because I just figured you just like Colonel Church, I didn't understand.
Yes, so we have commissioned officers through, and this is really in every service that you have your commissioned personnel, your commissioned officers, and then you have your non-commissioned officer corps, and that's going to be your enlisted members when they hit a certain rank, and that varies sometimes by service, but in the Air Force it's at that E5, so the staff sergeant level.
Oh.
So we talk about sergeants a lot. So the first time an airman can be called a sergeant is at the E5 level, and then we go up to E9, which is a chief master sergeant.
Wow. Honestly, I wouldn't know that. And I wonder, I always think about that too when I'm in the schools and I'm talking to kids about going to trade school. Why not go in the service? And I did learn a lot about where you start and where you can get and how long it takes. And I think that that's a great recruiting tool to understand that. And again, I want to hear your story because I'm so impressed. I know this, I met you at the Day for, also we were at the Day for Women.
Yes, ma'am.
And I love the thought of, we all say it, the badass women. And I really believe that, again, like Dr. Tawny Dotson, who has served for well over 20 years. And, it's tough to get to that position. So will you walk me through that, or can you walk me through when you started, how you got there?
Certainly, but I just, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about that propensity to serve.
Absolutely. Please.
Unfortunately, the nation is experiencing the lowest propensity to serve in a number of years. So the people that have a desire to serve and are qualified, suitable for military service, and we're working really hard to make sure that no one is thinking about serving in the military as their last option. It should be an equal option.
It should be. Absolutely.
There's
I
a
agree.
lot of opportunity, and
Be one of them.
yes, ma'am. And as far there's a lot of options. You can do many things in the military, but we have the most educated enlisted force that we have ever had.
Wow.
We have my last assignment, which I'll tell you about in just a minute, was at a technical training base, and we have people coming in with master's degrees and doctorates. More that you would have never heard of that like 20 years
Wow.
ago.
Yeah.
So the force is educated, and they see some of the benefits of joining the military, even if it's just to serve one term. So a lot of people like me that are old, that have served a couple of decades, we almost all came in to serve 4 years, and that was my mentality as well. I grew up in Iowa, born and raised in a farming community and on a chunk of land, and had a pretty great life. And I never really considered military service. I'm not coming from a family who has a long history of people serving in the military. And so it was it wasn't even a thought.
Did your school back then, like you're so old,
way back in the one-room schoolhouse?
Bree, did they even talk about going in the service, career technical education, or any of that? No.
No.
A lot of schools didn't.
No,
probably.
the nearest recruiter to me was about an hour away.
Oh, okay.
So
got it.
It was from a very small town.
Interesting. I like it. Okay.
And so I intended to go to college, or maybe take a gap year before it was called a gap year. I think my parents were just calling it being lazy at that time. But
that's what my daughter-in-law did.
now we call it a gap year, and it's very healthy. So that was kind of my plan. Unfortunately, right at the end of my junior year in high school, my father was killed in a car accident, and I'm an only child, and that had a huge impact on my future.
Okay.
Looking back now, and I've made my peace with my mom. So it was kind of cruel, because I was just like, I'm gonna go, and if you're not gonna avail the funds to me to go do something that I want to do, whether it's study abroad or have my gap year, I'm gonna figure it out, and I'm gonna do it myself.
Wow, that's awesome.
Now that I have my own children, I recognize like what an emotional journey that would be for a parent. But
Sure.
at the time, I think we've all been 18 once.
I don't want to go back.
No,
I'm sorry. I am not going back to 18.
You're thinking about
I told you
yourself.
about partying on the roof up here. Not going back.
And you were probably thinking about yourself. And
Exactly.
a lot about yourself. And I went to a recruiter. I told my mom I was going to do it, and I don't think anyone, including myself, believed I was going to do it. And I signed up, and even I remember thinking, like, I'm probably not going to go. Like, this is just shock and awe. And I came home, my mom cried. And was devastated, and that kind of, I made the decision for the wrong reason, and I said, I'll just do whatever the Air Force pays me to do for a few years, and I'll have the money to do what I wanted to do in the first
go off
place,
to college or whatever you want,
and I won't look back.
Oh my goodness,
That's what got me.
that's how you got hit. Well, and it's not, I mean, it's a tragic story, but it definitely, again, there's those opportunities were there for you, which, and again, I don't want to say it's tough for women in the military, but how about that? I know you've been in over 20 years. Did you feel that then, or did you just kind of just went with it? And I can see where, again, nothing's going to stop you. So, or did you even feel that at all?
Well, I would be lying if I didn't feel it at some points, but I feel like every person probably
for sure.
experiences being on the outside.
No different than the military either.
And so that's something that here locally at Beale, not to tie it into the present too much, but that's something that we're really trying to combat, to make sure that everybody feels like they're part of something, even if you've been maybe ostracized or excluded previously, or you're not in the right group, or you or you don't look how people think you should look, or you don't love who people think you should love, or whatever, that there's a level of acceptance, because that's also what the military is about.
So so, and I've met your mom, and she is a saint.
She's a firecracker.
She is a firecracker. But she is, again, here we are 20 something years later, and she's, I can see how proud, obviously, she is. So you go into the service, you go, I assume basic training, you go, kind of walk us through that. I really do hope our listeners, have kids, or, that are trying to figure out what they want to do. They want to go to college and then maybe go in the service.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
100%. So I am one of those people who was very blessed by recruiters who kind of put me in a job that I fell in love with. And I've had lots of opportunities, whether they were on the commission side, whether it was to leave the service. And I just keep coming back because I love my job so much. They asked me when I was in the process of enlisting how I felt about languages. And I was such a cocky teenager. I was like, I'll like whatever you pay me to like. I don't care what it is. I had no plan.
Yeah.
I didn't have a plan. And they said, well, we would like you to take some aptitude tests for language learning ability. And right there, I signed up to become a linguist or a cryptologic language analyst in the Air Force. And then I progressed into basic training or boot camp. A lot of people call it boot camp. And like the first day I got there, they said, well, do you want to be an airborne linguist or do you want to be a ground linguist? And I said, well, it's the Air Force. I mean, I want to fly. Like, if flying's an option, I'll fly.
I'll fly.
And so I was put on a track then to become an airborne cryptologic language analyst. And a few weeks later, they gave me a language. And that ended up being Russian. And my career, my Air Force career really kind of started, I did BMT or basic training in San Antonio, but my career really started, I feel, in California, just down the coast a little ways at the Presidio of Monterey at the Defense Language Institute, where I spent the first couple years.
And somebody had shared that with me a couple times. I've heard that, and how many times I've been down there, never even knew that. So it's almost like a kept secret, but that's okay. What a beautiful place to start. Right?
I know that might explain why I'm so pampered. Yes,
I think she's a Cali girl. Nobody knows.
A little bit.
Wow. Okay. So there you are there.
Yes, at the Defense Language Institute, which is a fully accredited military institute, if you will. It's on an Army installation. Okay. So there is an Army garrison commander. So just like we have Colonel Church here at Beale, there's an Army person in charge of that, and we have some Air Force members as well, serving in like the vice or the deputy role. I just went to class every day. And it starts in Russian immediately, they teach a number of languages there. The United States Air Force employs cryptologic language analysts in a number of languages, to include like Korean, Chinese, Persian, Farsi, modern standard Arabic.
How long was that? Kind of like college for you.
It is 100%, and it varies by language.
Oh, okay.
For Russian, it is 47 weeks so it comes out to roughly a year. I understand a year is 52 weeks before we get.
Well, your military speak. I never know what's going on anymore.
But yes, so it's a full year and a little bit of change that I had the opportunity to spend in Monterey. Being taught by world-class instructors.
What a gift.
It was
amazing.
What
a gift.
It was amazing.
Okay.
It's a great opportunity. So accomplished that, and then I had to go further in training because there in Monterey at the Defense Language Institute, they teach language, but they don't really teach what you're going to be doing. Because I definitely thought I was going to be James Bond.
Oh, okay. In the plane, jumping out or something.
All this crazy stuff, like down a wire.
I'm surprised you aren't.
Into some party. That's not exactly how it panned out.
Oh, okay.
But then the training pipeline extends to San Angelo, Texas, where Goodfellow Air Force Base is situated, and that's where you get the intelligence skills to be a cryptologic language analyst. So I spent a number of months there at Goodfellow Air Force Base too. And then I don't even know if you know this fact, Jackie, but I did another stint of training real quick in San Antonio, and then I have actually been through survival school.
No.
I know. I ate bugs, rabbits.
No.
Oh, it's a thing. And so I had the opportunity to go through.
I do not believe it. This Miss Camping is not camping. It's glamping.
That's because I did what I had to do.
Has
now
to be
I'm
a
done.
hotel. Oh my goodness, you did what you had to do. Well, there you go.
Yes.
Boy, I think I see a pattern there. I do what I'm supposed to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Okay, so you get through that, and then they send you to Goodfellow.
Well, Goodfellow was first, and then I went to survival school.
Okay.
And then
survival. I got to hear about that, but we'll do that another day.
And then you go to what I would call your first duty station. So I finished that whole entire training pipeline.
Okay.
And then I went to my first duty station, which Beale Air Force Base right here is a first duty station for a number of airmen. You're getting them, a lot of times they're like in the 18 to 24-year-old demographic. They're coming right out of technical training. And then we're catching them and giving them the on-the-job training, the skills to start
here at Beale.
To start their foundation in Air Force.
I really do want to, eventually I want to hear more about, where they come from and that, but because, when you live here, you don't even realize, number one, the base is there, sadly. But then when you start meeting people like you, and honestly, the young airmen that might come to the rodeo or go to the brick and have, you see them in there and you start talking, these are pretty intelligent people that, I'm just at awe. So
yeah, it really warmed my heart today to see. I had the opportunity to grab a quick bite with my honorary command chief. Hi, Kelly.
Yay!
And we were talking some business things, and it warmed my heart to see military members out in the community.
Right.
Whether they're eating or doing business or whatever it is
Right.
that they're doing, it made my heart happy today.
Well, and I want to talk a little bit more about that later. Let's finish up. Okay, so I'm just still at the you eating bugs, but we're moving forward.
I did it.
I know we're moving forward. Okay, so then what's your next step? And where were you at then? Would you be an E4? Oh no, because you'd be a different level because you're not in.
So no, I
I'm
was.
still
So I
confused
was.
on that.
Because the technical training was so long to become my career field specifically, it's a very long training pipeline.
Right.
So I was in training for a couple of years before I ended up at Offutt Air Force Base, which is right outside of Omaha, Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky enough to be selected for senior airman below the zone, so that's your E4, and so I got
Okay,
promoted
that's
to
how-
that
okay.
while I was at survival school. So I was really there,
Darn it.
and I was accepted into an interpreting program. So there's a pretty big difference between what we call linguists that are
Okay.
able to do, they can understand languages and all of that, but simultaneous or consecutive interpreting is really a completely different skill set. There's a lot of memory training and things that you have to do. So I got into a program for that. So back to Monterey,
Okay.
and I worked in nuclear arms control and treaty verification, nuclear nonproliferation stuff for about 7 years with Russia, doing various treaties.
Sure.
Predominantly one called Open Skies, which has a lot of countries in Europe in it. And you fly over Russia or any member country, and the Russians flew over us as well with me
Right.
on board.
Wow. It's almost I want to say it's an honor. You have to see that as an honor. I mean,
it's
for us
huge.
civilian folks, we're like, thank you. That is so cool that you
Well, it was
went
an honor
that
to do
far.
it, definitely.
Yeah, but I meant, okay. So keep going.
So I had that opportunity, and I got to go and go to like air traffic control school, Moscow State University, do some things.
But nothing
in the
wanted to
embassy.
change you from, so you kind of ebbed and you were still wanting to stay in the service.
Yes,
Oh.
and I had an opportunity once I did apply to go to officer training school, and in the Air Force it's called officer training school, and I got accepted, and I was super excited to go and do that. But basically on the eve of when I was supposed to go, I said, I love being a Russian interpreter or a Russian cryptologic language analyst so much. Like I have goosebumps right now. I love it.
You can tell.
I just can't imagine doing anything else in the Air Force. There's nothing else in the Air Force, even if it meant being a commissioned officer,
Sure.
that I would do
Because you were gifted at it.
because
So,
I love this thing
Yeah.
that I'm doing. And I think job satisfaction and loving that thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, people will work for free if they're fulfilled
Right.
with what it is that they're doing, and their kids are,
Yeah.
have food.
Have food. Yeah, you got to feed them. Well, and and this is another thing, and I guess I'm so happy you're here because I want to just these myths, as they say. They call it a volunteer Air Force. Well, it's not really volunteer, but I'm sad to say some of the pay. I'm not looking to get you into any of that, but I do think it is an honor when you do serve, and I think that we in the community need to honor that more. And I did have that opportunity to go to Goodfellow Air Force Base. Thank you very much. And I did that for, the community impact that I wanted to bring back to Marysville and Yuba City and Yuba and Sutter counties. And I wanted to share. And I was blown away again, it's all about the respect. They know that you're doing this for us and we need to do what we can for you and, make your life comfortable and all those kind of things in the community. So and the one thing I did learn, and I wanted you to share a little bit if you can, the technical school of Goodfellow, because I had no clue that all of your firefighters come out of Goodfellow Air Force Base. So it's kind of like, again, I keep reminding myself, it's a college. You're sending these young people to college, and then they'll go off to a different college. I keep looking at it that way. I don't know.
So just since you touched on it, that we are a volunteer force, we're celebrating 50 years of being away from the draft this year. And I think that's
years.
really
Oh my
awesome.
gosh.
And, you know,
That is awesome.
the entire force at this point,
right.
wasn't drafted. You know, they came because they wanted to.
Because they wanted to serve.
There's a lot of reasons why people want to serve, tons of them. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
So we have the firefighters,
DoD Fire, so the Department of Defense Fire Academy. So every single service.
That's another thing that I learned. I thought the Air Force is just the Air Force, but at that place, it's the Army, Marines. It's everybody comes together to train. And that, to me, I think that's pretty fascinating as well.
It is, and we've tried to model just corporately as the Department of Defense or the military, the Air Force, because no service goes to war alone.
Right.
It will never be just the Air Force that goes to war and to fight. We have to rely on our brothers and sisters in arms to do the things that they're trained to do. So at that specific base, yes, it is a center of excellence where we have a lot of joint partners that are getting trained. And the Fire Academy specifically is for the entire Department of Defense, every service, including the Coast Guard. Sometimes people leave them out, but the Coast Guard is also trained there.
Right.
For fire. And then we have almost every service represented for intelligence training at Goodfellow Air Force Base too.
And another myth that I learned is that not every Air Force base has airplanes.
Yes,
so that was
true.
interesting because you just assume, you know, I'm like, well, my dad came from Barksdale and they had planes and he came here. But that's not true. There's a lot of bases that have a completely different mission, but it all serves together for us.
Yes,
so do you happen to know how many bases there are in California? Or
in California, how many Air Force bases?
I'm just curious. Yeah.
There's a number of installations because I think about like Camp Pendleton, which is huge, or 29 Palms. Those are really large installations. And then we have the Space Force at Vandenberg.
Oh,
so
yes.
The Department of the Air Force kind of spawned the Space Force. So there's still within the Department of the Air Force, but we have an Air Force and a Space Force.
And I was wondering, can you talk about that? Because I know that you have shared with some of the civic leaders that you have been meeting, just the picture of what Bill does. Can you explain that? Like, a Space Force is there. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yes.
And that is pretty cool.
Yes.
And talk about the different ones that really feed out of Beale Air Force Base.
100%. So the installation or the garrison commander is Colonel Church, and he is the wing commander for the 9th Reconnaissance Wing. So a lot of you that have lived in the community for a number of years are used to like the SR-71 flying around being very, very loud, and now the U-2. And there's a lot of other missions that we support within the 9th Reconnaissance Wing.
Okay.
But we also have more airplanes flying around. You may have seen the 940th Air Refueling Wing. That's also headquartered at Beale Air Force Base. And so you'll see the bigger 135s.
I'm so used to them now, I don't even look up in the air anymore.
Well,
I'm just like,
you might be
we know
missing
they're there.
something.
We got trains and planes. It's good.
So we have a aerial refueling wing there, and they've got a super impressive mission to refuel nuclear capabilities. So I mean, no one's going to war without getting gas from tankers. That's what they're called.
Oh, okay.
And then we also have the 195th Air National Guard Wing that is headquartered there as well. So you have 3 wings at Beale Air Force Base with their headquarters there. And
Right
195th does a lot of intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, cyber things throughout the entire state. But the headquarters is here at Beale as well. We have the Distributed Common Ground System number 2. There's 5 of them across the entire world, and we have 1 of them here, and it's number 2. And we call it America's DGS as an abbreviation. So they're doing a lot of fusion of a lot of things that happen at fusing sensors and data for the community there. And then we also have, from here, as you drive toward the base, you can see something that looks like a cheese wedge.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So you can call it the cheese wedge if you like, but that's where we have our Guardians. So those are members of the Space Force, which is our newest service. It's only been around a couple of years, but it's exciting. The things that they're able to do, because the service is significantly smaller than any other branch of service, things that they're able to do, the tailored care that they're able to give to each Guardian is pretty impressive.
That is. And again, I'm really excited you shared that, because I think most people think it's just the one service that's happening out there. And so that for our community, that is a good thing. I keep going back. Now we're going to go back into like the community impact piece of this, because again, that's where you and I love having you as a friend. I am going to miss you when you have to go back to where you, where is your home now? Texas, right?
Yes, my husband. So I am married. I don't want to leave him out. Hi, Joe. We love Joe. I am married. I have 2 children. My mother has also lived with me for the last 15 years, so she's
Wow.
been on this Air Force journey as well. And we just made the decision. You know, a lot of military families have to make tough calls,
Yeah.
especially as your children get older.
Right.
And I spent 6 years in the National Capital Region working at out of the Pentagon doing various
Oh,
things
that's
there.
right. I forgot. Oh my gosh. Again, badass. Look at that. I know somebody from the Pentagon.
Well, not anymore. Not anymore. I escaped. But
Okay.
we did spend a number of years there in that big city metropolis, and then we moved to kind of rural Texas. So I had the opportunity to go back to tech training in a staff capacity. So I was able to serve at
Right.
Goodfellow as well. And that was super exciting.
Oh gosh, such a great town too.
But we made a very difficult decision that my service would continue, but my family was going to stay
Yep.
in Texas. So you've got other military families that make different types of
Sure.
decisions, whether it's we call it geo-bacheloring, or for me, geo-bacheloretting. So
I love it.
Geographically separated from my family
Right.
right now. We kind of tried to make it work here, and then
Yeah,
it wasn't really feasible for
well, and it
for
depends
us.
on where you're going to be in your life. And I shared that story that my parents came out here from Louisiana. My dad, oh gosh, we're going to California. My mom's, no, I want to stay in the South. And she was from Texas. And so we get in that station wagon with the 2 dogs and 3 kids before my sister came along. And she's driving down North.
And no seatbelts.
And no
you
seat
survived.
belts. Nope. And my mom's slapping us the whole time as we're going. But we drive down Northville Road and she's crying because she's like, where in the heck is this base? And then, of course, he gets out 4 years later, stays here, marries, well, please. But, you just don't know. You don't know what you don't know. But that brings me to what I love about meeting you, Colonel Church. I'm an honorary to
Major Saccone.
Major, sorry. I'm like, I always get these titles. This is the hard part. I call him Jim, but James Saccone.
I've got your back, Jackie.
Yeah, thank you.
I won't.
See, whew. Yeah, I don't leave him out. Sorry, James. But this is how we connected, and it warms my heart because I have been doing 42 years of community networking. And once we met, it was like kaboom. And even my boss, Willie, at the water agency says, I don't know what's happened, but we're kicking butt. The base, we have this great relationship in the community. I know you don't like to hear this, but I credit you and Colonel Church for reaching out immediately when you got here. Because there always was this perception. I worked at Recology, and it was like, yeah, and you're busy. You're running almost like you're the general managers of a city or the city managers out there. So we have to give you credit for that. But yet you took the time, and Colonel Church, to come out, and Saccone and your team. I have not seen Rage. He's the new guy, and Antonetti. I think I said that right.
You did it. You
but
did it.
that has been, it makes me almost emotional because for 20 plus years, we did not have that. We had this and that. But when you talk about civic leadership and you want to make sure we have the best housing here for you, schools, we have to work on our schools. We have to be at that level because a lot of the military come from different bases. And I think you're in the heart of Yuba County, and here's the city over here, and we all admit we missed the boat. And we should have been working on this years ago. So here we are. We're moving forward now. And you know what the nice thing is, and I want you to share this, it's not going to stop. When Colonel Church goes to his next mission, or when you get ready to retire, what do you think? How do you see it?
Well, I think it's
Your
really
side,
exciting. First of all, the military in and of itself, that brotherhood, sisterhood in arms, you almost have your own community, right? Like you have behind the gates of the base, and you have all these things, and you have your own culture. But our military members, they are gonna live, work, play. They're gonna do all of those things in the local communities as well. Their spouses, their partners, their children are gonna go to your community schools. They're going to be employed by the local communities. So we really kind of depend on one another. It's super important. we like to say the high tide will raise all boats.
Yes.
So we want to take care of the local community. We want to educate you on what it is that we're doing. There are things that we might not be able to talk about all the time.
Right. And we get it.
And that
Same
just
with
is.
us. Every business has that, right?
Yes.
We can't tell you our trade secrets, but we can work with you. We can volunteer. You know, my heart is so full to see at the food bank once a week. There are people, and I get it. Every company wants your employees to go volunteer. Again, there's nothing different about Beale Air Force Base. It's just another city. But it is, 9 miles, which to me is nothing. I had to drive to Fair Oaks this morning at 7 in the morning, and I'm thinking, 45, yeah, we can make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
But we all dropped the boat, and I'm really saying a lot about Yuba and Sutter counties. We just didn't get out there and say, hey, come see what we have, and we're building this, and we have 400 homes coming over here. So on the inside of the base, so this is where Major Saccone and I love the spirit that they're trying to really make activities on the base for the airmen that do have to live there. Or I think is there 500 families? I'm not sure how many live on the base, but how does that look? I mean,
so we have some various demographics represented on the base. You do have your family piece. So there is housing on the base that like within the gates.
Right.
And so you have families that are living there. You also have single airmen who are living in the dormitories that we have, which is similar to like a college style dormitory. But we recognized pretty early coming in, Colonel Church and I both arrived last summer, and we recognized that we really need to have some focus areas. We call them lines of effort.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's a very military term. I don't know.
I have not heard that until I met you.
I don't speak civilian, so I'll translate.
I said, LOE? What does that mean?
I'll translate military time for
Thank you. Oh, please. She says, I'll see you at 18:30, and I'm like, what the heck does that mean? I'm learning.
Yes, ma'am. So
and ma'am, I get it. You have to call me ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Jackie. Okay.
So we kind of narrowed it down to 6 things that we really needed to focus on, different areas where our energy really needs to go, because it's really easy to get overwhelmed, just like anywhere else. There's so many things that need to be done.
So many departments in the county or the city government. Yeah, right.
So one of those lines of effort was community engagement. It's LOE, line of effort, number 4. And it's community engagement, and we've been very blessed to have participation from our civic leaders. Jackie, you have been so supportive and wonderful to help us with that. And so that has been amazing. But there's a community kind of on the base as well. Like I said, like our little, we're a microcosm of all the things going on. And then there's that community off base, and connecting the two, articulating needs, desires, and also capabilities that we have that we can offer to the local community.
Right.
To talk about different employment opportunities that we have at Beale Air Force Base. You know, we contribute a lot to this area.
Right.
And we want to help everybody understand what options there are, so that you don't have to go farther away, so that you don't have to leave, Marysville, Yuba City, to go find a job that's awesome that you want to do. You know, maybe Beale Air Force Base has an opening that you would be qualified for.
Boy, that's the truth. And I met recently with Pride Industries, and boy, that touched my heart. I had no idea that, Pride Industries is out at the base. They do the landscaping. They help, do different things that they're qualified for. And I'm like, wow, first of all, that to me is very heartwarming. And with that connection from Bill and Major Saccone, I am going to meet with Pride, and we need to talk about it. So you brought something to us that we're not really doing here in Yuba and Sutter counties, and I think we should. Can you talk a little bit about, not a lot, but the community LOE? Like, is there things, if you were to sit right now and ask a civic leader, here's the things these are things we really need. Here's how you can help.
I won't go so far as to say that there are things that we really, really need, but there are definitely things that we are interested in. And that of course, is going to be the economic development of the municipalities that surround Beale Air Force Base. Once again, thinking of that high tide in all boats.
Yeah.
So if we're able to attract any sort of businesses outside the gate, that would probably, there's no guarantees. We're talking about human beings here, but that will probably make more airmen and guardians want to live a little bit closer to the base.
Perfect, yes.
So that they aren't trending farther and farther away from some of the amenities that you guys are working so hard to bring
here,
and to build up the area. So it's really exciting to see anything as far as developments, whether that's housing, whether it's commercial, whatever that might be. Of course, the schools, like you said, we do have airmen and guardians coming in, right? So
Yes, and they're coming from everywhere.
yes.
So I guess I was thinking about this. I met with Dr. Asani for the Marysville and Nicole Newman for Wheatland, and I am Yuba County centric for my job, and we talked about that. And I said I think we should be checking in New Delaware. What are they teaching the kids there, and bring it over here, and we need that same level that you're being taught in the East, in the middle of the country here. And I know that seems so overwhelming, but to me, it's not. It's STEM, which we've been behind the boat on. We need that middle college academy. That came out of, and I know you don't like to take credit, but the very first meeting that we had with you, Chief Oliver, before I knew you as Bree, you brought that up. And I'll tell you, we all as civic leaders, Adventist Health, the Yuba Water Agency, Yuba County, we were all writing resolutions to the school board. We have got to get this changed. So it's so exciting that we're moving forward on these things. It might not be it might be a couple of years before we really show the success, but you brought that. So that's the kind of thing that I think we can keep that line of communication on, right?
And we want to be a really good partner as well to the local community. It's not the base coming asking for help all the time.
Right.
It's because this is a community venture, because
Right.
we are all legitimately in this together. Where can we go together?
Right.
What journey can we walk together
Yeah.
that's beneficial to everyone?
And I want to share, I'm helping your team on the Air Force Ball. And I'm just so tickled by it because, again, a lot of them don't live here, or they just got here and they have no idea. So we're talking about vendors and should we go? And we're like, no, you need to do that. Let's do the Hard Rock. And they're so engaging on, yeah, we really do want to try to shop as local as we can. You got a 45-mile radius around us. And they're very open to that. And I love that. And I think they taught me also, we can't just, again, you are Nevada County, you're in Placer County, we have Butte County, and we have to share you. I guess that's the word.
It's a really big base.
It is, but it was so hard for Miss Jackie Silman to admit to that. But as I continued with Major Saccone, again, it's about the quality of life on that base for who is on that base, and you have about 7,000 working there at any time.
That we're supporting.
That is the largest, and that's another thing, that's the largest employer in Yuba and Sutter County is Beale Air Force Base. So the narrative has changed, and that's the part that, as I inch out of my legacy and you move on to yours, I think we should be really proud that we're both badass women and we got together and we've made that happen. And to me, that's community. It's you, it's me, it's friends. So we only have a few more minutes, but is there anything you want to share that, again, I don't want to look at just recruiting, but really pushing that word out. You've had great years in the service.
I have.
And I really wish the younger kids, I don't know how to touch them. So maybe whatever you think.
I think it's worth noting that if there's something that you want to do, if there's a track that you want to pursue, it is very likely that the United States military, of course, I'm going to be pro Air Force
Sure.
every day of the week, probably has an opportunity that aligns to your goals, whatever they may be. If you're going to come in for 4 years like me and just do whatever they pay you to do, that's okay.
But look what happened.
We will be grateful for your
Yeah.
service because you're volunteering to come and to do this and find maybe a greater purpose.
What do you think they're afraid of? Do you think there is something out there that maybe it's a myth that should be changed?
We have seen some studies that are public knowledge that there does seem to be fear.
Oh, okay.
Fear that the stories that we tell about the military, a lot of times the things that you sometimes, especially for 20 years of war, that you were seeing on whatever news channel you subscribe to, they were not happy stories
Right.
of things that the military is doing really, really well.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot of things that either the military wasn't doing well or troubles with veterans and things like that. But there's a lot of things. For every one of those stories, there's 15 stories of success.
Isn't that the way it is?
And partnership
Yeah.
and education and opportunities and taking care of one another. And I will be honest with you, Jackie. I trust you now. But when I see another military member, and I think a lot of the population, maybe not all, when you see a military member, there's a level of trust that you have because they're there.
Yes.
For whatever reason they are. And for me,
I put it right as law enforcement to me. It's like respect.
It's a brother, sister in arms thing. So when I run into another military member, I immediately am like, oh, we have something.
Yeah.
We have a connection, even if I've never seen them before.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can't believe it's gone so fast, but thank you so much. This has been really amazing, very hard for me. Again, my first podcast. Again, thank you so much, Tawny Dotson, president of Yuba College, for, recognizing we need to talk about community. She loves the base connection. Yuba College is very good to the base, and the base is good to them as far as getting students in there. Next month, we're going to have Julie Colson, who is the Irma Bombeck. And I don't know if anybody even remembers Irma Bombeck but me, but very much a mom, a comedian. I think she has 12,000 kids. I don't know how many that woman has. She's foster care. She's done everything. And boy, she has stories to tell you about that. She grew up in Marysville like me. So we'll have her, and that's going to be sponsored by my Betty, Sandy Drown, and Chris Drown at Happy Vikings. So with that, oh my gosh, thank you again, Bree.
No, thank
Chief
you.
Oliver.
Thank you.
We'll continue our badass roles until at least July of next year when I have to say bye. But thank you.
Thank you.
And with that,